Thank you so much, sir. Sapan, would you like to go through the Section 3.3A legalities so that the attendees can understand the entire legal process?
Sure, Alok. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor to be here, especially with Honorable Justice Kaul, Senior Advocate Mr. Venkatramani, the esteemed panelist, sir. It's indeed a pleasure to be here and addressing everyone who's part of this seminar. So what I'll be taking forward, and Honorable Justice Kaul and Kalindi has really made my task easier. They've actually covered large parts of aspects on the legal validity of e-contracting, legal validity of e-signing, and how it's dealt with in India. So what I will focus on is specifically on certain practical aspects of e-contracting in India. I'll deconstruct some assumptions around it, and also talk about Section 3 and Section 3A. I'll just do that. I'm sharing my screen now. Right. So first and foremost, just a bit of background. Given the scenario we are in, which is COVID pandemic and contactless, everything is happening, including be it justice delivery mechanisms, including having board meetings, including even conversations. We have seen as a service provider to large corporates in the last many years, we've seen conversations on adopting of e-contracts and e-signing really shoot up. The assumptions which were coming from the actual users of e-contracting solutions, those assumptions have come up to the limelight again and again, which is why this platform serves as a good step in order to demystifying assumptions. So just taking it a few steps ahead here. Let's take a look at the primary assumption which companies or legal teams usually have. That's the question, which is whether e-signing is legal in India and what legal regimes apply. Surprisingly or not so surprisingly, India has a very, very robust mechanism for e-contracting and e-signing. As Honorable Justice Kaul was mentioning in detail, we have Indian Technology Act, Evidence Act, way back since 2000. These have been optimized for e-contracting and e-signing. We have a specific sector regulator. Just like an RBI, which regulates payments and settlement in the country, we have controller of certifying authority regulating e-signing in country. So there's a very specific focus by the legislature to regulate this sector when it comes to e-signing and ensuring, because this is actually the basis of all commercial transactions that will run the country. So this has been taken, a deep view has been taken, and regulations, laws have been put in place. Talking about a bit of institutional backing that it has already received, we have courts right from the Supreme Court looking at judgments with respect to e-contracting, e-signing in the country. We have RBI regulations, we have SEBI specifically allowing for certain mechanisms of e-signing as per Information Technology Act, which Justice Kaul had briefly mentioned in his segment. We have several tribunals also. So it's not only at the top of the hierarchy, the courts have recognized it. Even tribunals have recognized e-contracting, e-signing in the country, right? That's the first assumption that requires to be unbundled here. Coming to the second point, which is what deals with Section 3, Section 3A. So the Indian regime follows a level of security higher than international counterparts, be it United States, which is kind of the primary entity we interact with respect to transactions, right? So what I mean by that is, in United States, any mark is recognized as an electronic signature. But in India, the term electronic signature has a higher threshold, and that is specifically defined in Section 3 and Section 3A of the Information Technology Act, right? Here, as Mr. Venkatramani sir was saying, there is a concept of certifying authorities in his example which he was giving. There is an entity called certifying authority under the regulator, which creates what is called as asymmetric cryptography key pairs, which actually ensures that whatever documents are being signed, they identify the signer, it's attributed to the signer, and the proof of enforceability is always there, right? So there is a specific mechanism and there is a certifying authority which ensures this happens as per Section 3 and Section 3 of the Information Technology Act. And there are 15 certifying authorities in the country. So the country is quite spoiled for choice when it comes to picking the correct mechanism. Given that there is a certifying authority, law also prescribes for certain presumptions in its favor. And Ashish will be covering this in more detail. But law presumes certain validity of electronic signature, of secure electronic signatures, be it in terms of enforcement, be in terms of identification of the signer, be in terms of the facts of the electronic signature certificate, right? So this is very critical in India, where parties can actually find comfort that the law presumes the actual signing of the document, and you don't actually have to prove it all the time to reduce litigation. This also prevents litigation to start with, and reduces the turnaround time of justice delivery itself. Important here is to note that there are other mechanisms of entering into contracts, which are electronic authentications under 10A. They are also accepted in the country, but there is no presumption in law in their favor, right? So that is the second assumption we've unbundled, and happy to take questions as we go here. Coming to the third part, and this is probably a critical practical aspect of how things are done. Usually, a lot of conversations we have with large, small companies, MNCs, usually is that Indian digital signature ecosystem, electronic signature ecosystem is quite difficult to use. There are USB tokens which are issued to directors, and you have to use that plug into the system. But as Justice Kaul was mentioning, it's quite a simple process where there is a signing link which is sent. You have to open the link. There is a mechanism for authentication, which is provided for by entities providing service in the country. And with a few clicks and authentication, the signing journey is complete, and a unique signature is created, right? So the old methods of a DSC token has been done away with for something what is called as the Aadhaar e-sign, which now has been accepted and adopted not only by the Supreme Court in its e-filing, but also by SEBI with respect to KYC, by RBI, by Institute of Chartered Accountants, and so on and so forth, right? So this is law. It doesn't require any other prescription, but for its mention itself in the Information Technology Act. Simply, when you are Aadhaar e-signing a document, it requires you to put an Aadhaar number or a virtual ID, which is provided by UIDAI, and the OTP you receive on your mobile phone or email ID. It's a simple 30-second process compared to the expensive USB tokens we may be interacting with on a regular basis, right? Just let's look at the proof of efficiency of this service. There are approximately 10 crore Aadhaar e-signs have already been done in the country, which massively goes on to show that how inclusive Aadhaar based architecture is when it comes to allowing people to e-sign documents in a secure manner. Right. Now, another point that is usually comes in, and this has nothing to do with e-sign per se. This is more of a broader thing where companies think moving things digital may also compromise security, might also create opportunities for tampering. But as Kalindi was also elaborating on during her presentation, these are fully secure documents once they're electronically signed, and any sort of tamper becomes very evident in the process itself. Not even a comma can be changed when you, for example, sign a contract using legality. Not even a comma on the document can be changed, and somebody can get away with it. So that is very critical to understand, both in terms of parties' obligation and in terms of enforceability in court. Very critical. Another thing that may arise and has come very often when interacting with banks and NBFCs, usual questions of what is the value of contract that is allowed. So there is no value cap that has been imposed by law, either in the Information Technology Act or by judgments of the honorable courts. Last 2 months, we've done 2,000 crore deals which were e-signed on legality, which goes on to show the opportunity is used. And given the COVID pandemic, more and more such transactions are digitizing and should be digitized, right? It's more enforceable, it's cheaper, it's more efficient. So it should be digitized, and that's the trend we are looking at currently. Coming to the stamp duty aspect of it, and of course, we will have more interactions and more questions on this. But stamping is something which is very, very critical to actually enforce your documents, right? So all companies we interact with take it very seriously. All companies understand this is a regulatory compliance and has to be done as a tax to be paid to the state. Now, the problem usually is that the stamping ecosystem in the country is very physical. When they even call it e-stamps in the country, it's nothing but electronically generated, but it is physically provided to you. There's a printout on a stationery, and that is provided to you. So once again, the journey is digital. It becomes a physical journey and breaks the digital flow. This has put a lot of questions on whether and how stamping should be done in digital journeys. So there are mechanisms which allow you within the purview of the Information Technology Act to digitally use your stamp papers in a digital transaction. And I think this is very critical, that compliance is the foremost thing when you are digitizing. That shouldn't be compromised at the altar of digitizing your transaction. So there are mechanisms, for example, which can be created within the Information Technology Act, which allows for digital stamping. And these are hugely popular among some top banks, NBFCs and MNCs who do transactions. So that's broadly the purview on what assumptions are and what facts are when it comes to e-signing.